Welcome back to the Queen of Serious Talks. I'm Dawn Simon, and this is episode 17. This has been something that I feel like it's bothered me for a long time. And it's basically but when you tell someone something, you may tell them multiple times, right? And it seems to be something they really need to know. And then all of a sudden, they hear it from somebody else, and they come back to you and they say it to you as if it's the first time they've ever heard it. And you're sitting there like, yeah, I've been saying this. And, recently my life has shown me, I'm trying to be discreet. My life has shown me a little bit more as to why that happens. And it gave me some clarity, and I wanted to share. So I hope that it helps. Thanks for listening. I thought of something this morning that I think needs to be elaborated on a little bit and explored. It's the idea of not hearing or seeing something until you're ready to see it. I'm sure many of us can remember a time when we told somebody something a few times, and then they came back to us after speaking to someone else and said basically what we said back to us, as if it's the first time they've ever heard it. And it can be really frustrating. You're like, well, I already told you that, or whatever. There's something inside of you that feels like you're not getting the credit for that, or they weren't listening to you, and you've been trying to tell them that, and they just couldn't hear it. They couldn't see it. And for some strange reason, when it came from this other person at this very specific time, during this very specific part of their life, they heard it. And it finally was like a light bulb that went off. And sometimes I think it depends on who's saying it to you. Like, if it's someone that you hear talk, you talk to a lot, they're in your life every day, or, I think there's a lot that's missed there. I think that, even if we're listening, I just think a lot gets missed. I don't want to say that it's not taken seriously. I just think it's not all absorbed. And it can be taken for granted, not like in a bad way, just it's always there. It's kind of just always around. And then they speak to someone else during a very stressful event or emotional, breakdown they're having, or something in their family's going on, and they go and talk to someone else, and they hear that information in a different space. They hear it from a different person. They hear it maybe it's the context that they're hearing it in. Maybe it's where they're at in that moment, where they're actually seeking it now. They need that information. They need to know it because they're so desperate. Or the situation that they're in is bringing the most clarity ever. Now. They're paying attention now. Life's got their attention. And they are seeking answers. I think as the giver of the information, we can get our feelings hurt by not being heard, and the person that we're sharing the information with isn't taking our advice and isn't listening to us, and they're not, they don't understand what we're trying to tell them and the wisdom we're trying to offer them that can help them. But I don't think that it's that. I don't think it's on purpose. I think it has a lot to do. I think it has everything to do, and it does not. It has to do with the other new person that gave the information. That part's important, but I think most of it relies on the person receiving it. And as I said, they're seeking, and they're searching, and they're going somewhere else for their information. And that information, in some strange way, for lack of a better way of describing it, is more valuable at that time. It's not, I'm just saying more valuable, but what I mean is, in that context and in that scenario, it's more like of a desperate, dire need to know that information. And I think this also relates to, a new thing that I've learned and has helped me so much is that most things and most reactions from other people are about them and not about us. And I think that has to do with it too. We take it personally, and we take offense to it when someone that we love doesn't listen to us and doesn't hear our advice or think that we know what we're talking about, and that we take that very personally because we love them and we're trying to help them. But the fact that they're not hearing it or not able to hear it or aren't in a place where they can understand it fully and absorb it is about them, not about us. And that applies to a lot of things. And I think that we need to try to remember this when we're loving people. A lot of the things that happen are about them and not about us. But we can't also forget the fact that our reactions to them are about us and not about them. Our triggers are about us and not about them. Our inability to hear them is about us, not about them. Our resistance to what they're offering is about us, not about them. And it's not cold to take yourself out of it. It's not like placing blame by saying like, well, that's about them. It's not placing blame on them, but it is switching your point of view so that you can understand a little bit that it's not something they're doing to you by not listening or not hearing you. It's not something they're doing to you by the way they're responding to you. It's something they're doing to you, but it's not because of you and something you've done wrong. And I think that everyone in their lives is, as they go through their lives and they're in different situations and they're experiencing different things, they are only ready at certain times for certain information. It's like a perfect storm. It depends on if all the planets are aligned, or it has to do with where they are, how they're feeling, what they're going through, who the other people are in their life, what are they going through. It's like just enough water and just enough sunlight can make that grow. And I think if we understand this, it would create space for the people we love and that we're in relationships with and a little bit of understanding that they're not just going to get it when you have something to tell them and you think it's so important and you wish they would understand this and their life would be better if they could just really get this point that you're trying to make. Why don't they listen to me? I've been through this. I know about this, right? But they can't. They're just not capable at that time. It's not because they don't love you and don't respect you and don't want to hear what you have to say. It's not because they think the other person knows more than you. You could have said it 10 times and this new person said it once, and for some reason at that moment, that was when they could hear it. And it has very little to do with everything else. So I think me just understanding this now, I mean, I know it, but like right now, the situation I'm in my life, I was able to really grasp this. It made so much sense to me all of a sudden, right? So now I'm aware of that. And I can take that with me. And I'm not going to get it right away. And the next time I share something with someone I love and they don't seem to get it, and then they come back to me and tell me someone else said it to them, I might get frustrated again. But now I'm aware, so I can try to remember it and say, I remember this. Here's an opportunity for me to, use this perspective that I've had to change my response to that happening. And this is how we create change, and we rewire our brains, and we do things differently. And it's really not always something we get right away. It takes time, and it's a practice. And when you're realizing things, it can feel overwhelming. And it can feel like, how am I going to bring all this with me forward and change and be different and feel better and move forward and love better and be better, But we can only take it one moment at a time, one event at a time and day and at a time, and one situation at a time as it comes to us. We can try to remember and practice.
The content provided on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only, and as a self-help tool for you in your own use. If you are in need of support, please do not delay in seeking mental health advice from a professional. I am not a mental health practitioner. I am simply sharing my own experiences here on this podcast.